All right, guys. Well, hey, I just want to welcome everybody here. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. A lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and a lot to deal with, a lot of new realities at work and home. And, our primary responsibility is the health and safety and well-being of our team, our staff, and, our family. So, and we're taking the necessary steps to protect all those folks the best we can, and hopefully our fans are going to be safe as well. These are very, challenging times. We've never had to deal with anything like this before, at least in my lifetime. And, there's a global effort to slow the spread of this virus, and, all of us have to be responsible in the decisions that we make based on, what our responsibility is to do just that. The team is, we're trying to stay engaged in every way that we can, with our team. The technology that we have now with Zooming and things like that, video conferences with the staff and players, can help us monitor their well-being, number one, in their health and safety, number two, their schoolwork and the academic portion of it, which is being done online, as well as, we're allowed to have 2 hours a week of some kind of, football-related type stuff, which, we're doing small increments of teaching segments, with our players, and any other things that we had going on, like we had a leadership seminar going on, we're continuing to do that online. So we're trying to provide as much support, to, whether it's academic, medical care, mental health, wellness, nutrition, whatever their need, our players and staff's needs are. I never really answer hypothetical questions, and, I'm sure that everybody's going to want me to speculate on what's going to happen in the future, and nobody really knows. So it's very uncertain. It's uncertain times. I think we have to, fight through the process of what we need to do on a day-to-day basis to make good choices and decisions, to do the right thing at the right time, regardless of the circumstance. And, think about what's ahead of us, what the future is, what we want to happen, try to do the things, correctly today so that we have the best chance to get the outcome that we want in the future. And I think that's everybody's responsibility. And I know we got a lot of good people out there, healthcare folks that I'd like to thank, and, people who are still having to work and do things that they're providing a lot of safety and healthcare for a lot of people, and we certainly appreciate that.
You are unmuted.
Hey, Coach, this is Charlie Potter with Bama Online. I was just wondering if we could get a quick update on Markel Benton's status.
Markel Benton was suspended from the team. That was released earlier, and that hasn't really changed.
You are muted.
Yeah, Nick, this is Alex Byington with the Montgomery Advertiser. Thanks for doing this. I was just kind of curious. You talked about the instruction you're doing with the players, but what is a normal day like for you right now? And, how strange is it to be going through this at this point?
Well, I think the whole world's turned upside down, so it's a little bit different for everybody. But I think the best thing we can do is adapt, adjust to it the best we can. Basically there's two areas, really three areas that we're trying to focus on is every morning I have a Zoom staff meeting at 7:30, just like we always do. It's done on Zoom, so there's, everybody, there's no personal contact with anybody. And we discuss, basically what we're going to do with our team and our players, that particular day. We usually use the morning to sort of work on next year's opponents, which is not typically be doing at this time of year when spring practice is going on. And in the afternoon, we try to do as much as we can to stay in contact with recruits, but each day at a time certain. We have not each day. On Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, right now we're doing, sessions with our players. And then, I do video conferences and phone calls with recruits, then in the afternoon. So that's pretty much what a day is like. And we're doing the best we can. So and we'll continue to.
Sure, Coach. How much can you really get done during a 2-hour video session, and how do you really approach those with your staff? And then also, how much of a benefit is it that there wasn't as much turnover in the staff this year as there has been maybe the last 2 years?
Yeah. Well, we're not in any real hurry with whatever installations we're doing with the players. I think, basically there's 3 parts to teaching. What to do, how to do it, why it's important to do it that way. So if we just take a single concept, like, for example, if we're on offense and we're teaching inside zone, all right, well, we could take 30 minutes on, teaching the techniques, the aiming points, the footwork, and then, actually show the players video of doing it correctly, or actually let them evaluate whether the guy that we're looking at is doing it correctly or incorrectly. And I think conceptually, there's a lot of benefit, to it, because we don't have to hurry through it, because we're going through this install and then we're going to go practice, in a half hour. So we got 30 minutes to meet, then we got to go on the field and we got to be able to go do this today. I do think it gives the players the opportunity to be engaged, number one, but number two, I do think it's a slow process of learning that can be beneficial to them having a better understanding of concepts. So we're not in any hurry. I mean, we're kind of taking it slow, and so far it's worked out, really, really well. I think, look, we have good continuity with our staff, which is positive, but on the other hand, we've always been able to improvise and do things that we need to do. I actually think the addition of the strength and conditioning coaches that we have now has been a huge positive for us, because we're building a new sports science center. These guys, Dr. Ray has actually got a PhD, so his knowledge and experience and a lot of technical type testing and stuff that you can do with players, and the new training programs that we're doing have, the players have really liked, and hopefully this will help us with some injury prevention and, help us be able to perform better when the time comes. So, and they were very instrumental in, setting up this whole, program of what we're doing with the players in terms of, Apple Watches for their workouts, apps on their phones for weight training programs. And we had issues with some players not having a place to work out because high schools are closed. And so, we put them on band workout programs. So, they've done a really, really good job of managing this to this point, and the players have done a good job responding to it.
Coach, hey, this is Cecil Hurtis, Tuscaloosa News. I was just curious, you placed such an emphasis during the spring and in general on competition, making players better. And I was just curious, what kind of window would you need for conditioning, competition, those kind of things before you could say we're ready to play? Not a hypothetical on when that would be, but just on how long would that be?
Well, I really can't say that. Obviously we have 14 practices in the spring, not counting A Day, which makes 15, which is not going to happen. So, if there was some kind of way that we could have 14 days of teaching with our players sometime before fall camp happens, I think that would probably be beneficial. Historically, we're not allowed to work with our players in the summertime, and this would be hypothetical that at some point in time in the summer we would have the players back here and we would be able to work with them. So, and I'm not talking about, having pads on or anything, but just be able to teach, teach system, teach scheme. We'll have to evaluate the players based on, fall camp. And I think, the players who benefit the most from spring practice and, having these.
This meeting is being recorded.
Are really the young players on the team. So, hopefully, this will work out that we'll be able to have some time to be able to teach them, and we'll just have to evaluate them in fall camp.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Nick, it's Chris Love. How are you, man?
Good, Chris. How are you?
I want to ask you, when you do get the kids back on campus, whenever that is, from your experience in football, what are the biggest challenges when you have a long break, whether it's a kid coming back from injury or getting a team ready to physically get ready to play, when you haven't had contact or any kind of physical contact for a long time? What are the biggest challenges along those lines?
Well, I don't really, maybe I'm a little different on this, but, I don't think any of the actual contact that you have in the spring, I think the technique and the thing that you teach, whether it's tackling, block protection, footwork, hand placement for offensive linemen, pass protection, blocking for running backs, whatever it might be, perimeter blocking for receivers, block protection for DBs. I think, the how to do it, the why it's important to do it that way, probably has a lot of carryover. That's why we do it. I don't think the actual contact that you have in the spring prepares somebody to have contact in the fall. I think that's why you have fall camp. That's why I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do some kind of teaching sessions on the field, even if it's in shorts and T-shirts, in summertime with our players, that at least from a knowledge and experience standpoint, we'll be able to benefit their growth and development so that they're more ready when contact actually comes in fall camp. I don't personally think that making fall camp longer is going to get anybody any more ready to play. I think if you look at statistics historically on concussions, injuries, the most concentrated time that you practice and not play is in fall camp. You have more practices, you have to spend more time on the field. So I don't know that increasing that is actually going to be beneficial in helping people get ready to play. I think if you do, simulated training programs in the summertime that wouldn't even involve that much contact or any contact would be just as beneficial at that point.
Nick, this is Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how are you? And hope things are going well. You came up with a system. Yeah, good. You came up at a time that a lot of coaches did when all this off-season stuff, conditioning wasn't even done. You started up in August or whenever at fall camp. In the future, do you think we'll see that like you're reading to cut back just the whole year-round culture of college football, or is that yet to be determined?
Well, I don't think it's totally correct that, even when I played, which was, many, many moons ago, we had spring practice. We did off-season program. We did everything that players do now. The summertime, the difference in the summertime is everybody didn't go to summer school back in those days. All right, but, I played for Don James, and, we had a postcard of a workout that we were given for every week in the summer that we were supposed to do at home. All right, so that involved weight training, conditioning, and some kind of simulated training relative to your position, and you had to fill that out and send it in every week. And then when we came back, the first thing we did is we had a physical training test. Anybody that played in the old days know we used to run the mile run. We used to have 2-mile runs. We ran 16 110s. We did Springfield test, which was running 1040s with 15 seconds rest in between, and your conditioning level was measured by how much your time sort of, decreased as you got tired. All right, so we've always had the same year-round approach. The only difference is when we were able to put guys on scholarship in the summertime, and we had all the players here in the summertime, the organization of the summer workouts were done, internally here by the strength and conditioning staff, and you didn't do it at home, at your high school or your high school field or wherever. So I don't think the workload changed. I think the format changed a little bit, and I do think that players being able to go to summer school has enhanced to a large degree graduation rate, how quickly guys can graduate, how they can get ahead academically. I think that's been a huge positive. They're able to do supervised workouts by the strength and conditioning staff in the summertime now rather than, me running on the railroad tracks back in West Virginia.
Nick, this is Mike Rodak with AL.com. Just what has been your reaction to Tua's recovery to this point? Obviously, it's still only 4 or 5 months away from the injury and the initial shock of that injury, and now he says he's 100%. And also, what would be your advice to NFL teams who might be concerned about his health still at this point?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so and I can't comment on where Tua is and what he's doing. He's not. But we have continued to try to do everything that we can from a rehab standpoint, and I think his agents and his representation now have kind of are determining what the factors are. I think anybody that was going to have a medical recheck, after the combine, which usually happens about the first week in April before the draft, should probably, go to their physician and do a medical check. And I certainly recommended that to our players that had rechecks coming up. And send them to all the teams. So, and that's about all you can do right now. And I can't really comment on where Tua is, based on we think his rehab has gone extremely well. He's been able to do things on a schedule relative to the way we all thought that he would be able to do them, and he's very positive and upbeat on where he is right now, and that's really about all there is for me to say about that.
Yeah, hey, Coach Michael Casagrande from AL.com. I just know that after the 2011 tornado, you were pretty involved with the community. How do you view your role right now in boosting public morale in this time of crisis?
Well, I've done several public service announcements. I'm going to do a couple more today. We made a pretty significant contribution to food banks in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Montgomery, as well as the 211 program, where people have the opportunity. It's like 911, but if you have issues with whether it's food or whatever, you can call these numbers and seek help. So we made a significant contribution to all those things, and we'll continue to try to help wherever we can. And I'm just trying to encourage people to, do what they need to do and be responsible in terms of social distancing, staying at home whenever possible. If you do have a job that you, need to go to because, practice, the health and safety, and, certainly have a great appreciation for, those on the front line in the healthcare system, trying to fight this disease off. So we made pretty significant contributions to try to help people in the community.
James Ogletree should be next.
Morning, Coach. This is James Ogletree with the Crimson White. I heard you address your kind of daily routine with the players in the meetings earlier, but I was just kind of curious, have there been any changes that you've had to make to accommodate anything, or is your schedule the same as it otherwise would have been?
Talking about me personally?
Just you or the team.
Well, I think everybody's changed. first of all, if nothing changed, we would all be here having practice today. And I'm the only one here having this press conference because nobody's allowed in the building. And, we're doing a lot of things different. I think I explained how we're doing all those things differently, earlier when I sort of gave you the day-to-day update. And I'm sure things are very different for just about everyone, out there in terms of what you can do, how you can do it, whether you have to work from home. So this is a very uncertain time for a lot of people. It creates a lot of anxiety, but what we've tried to emphasize to people is, not to worry, but to try to make good choices and decisions about what you do so you can stay safe and, just hope and pray that we can move out the other end of this sometime in the very near future.
Hey, Coach, Tony from Bama Insider again. Just with the shorter evaluation period, do you have to lean more on veterans early, just moving forward?
I can't say that. I mean, we're gonna lean on the people who are the most responsible to go out and do their job and be able to create value for themselves because they're competent and understand. That could be a freshman. We played a lot of freshmen around here. I think we played 19 last year and 5 started. I know some of them are not going to have the benefit of going through spring practice, but we've had a lot of guys that came in the fall, Minka, Ronnie Harrison. I mean, we've had guys that they weren't here in the spring. They didn't come in at mid-year, and they started as freshmen. So I don't think making those kinds of choices, decisions, whatever you want, without having some legitimate information to evaluate from, that kind of speculation is, I don't think we're not going to do it, and I don't think it's smart for anybody to do.
All right, guys, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today. We will discuss a future one at that time.